Okay, so I'm going to show you what I'm currently doing to manually merge these files together. I have this file here, which is the original file that I'm using to append the data to, which would be my primary. And then I have this one, which is the appending data that I want to add to it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that the people who live in these properties are the same people who were on my primary list. So I go to the assessee, if I can find it here, assessee last name. So I'm going to compare this field as well as this field to my original. So what I do is I'm going to copy all of this, but first I got to organize it in the same order as the primary file. So I want to check and see how many records are here. There's a total of 812 records, and the primary file has 812 records. Okay, so I want to organize them by site address. So I'm going to go and highlight data, sort, primary by the site address, A to Z. Okay, so my secondary file is now organized from A to Z on the site address. So right here, 1001 Maple, with the last one being 9919. So I'll do the same thing with this file, which is my primary. Sort. I want to go by site address, A to Z. Okay, and that should start with the same 1001 Maple. So now the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that all these addresses are showing up. In this case, all the records in my primary file are in the secondary file, but that isn't always the case. So I do a lookup, and the way I do the lookup currently, and this you will obviously be changing that with yours, is I use this formula. I grab this formula right here, and I'll show you how that works. And I put it in here. I'm going to call this field lookup. So it's in there, you just can't see it right now because there's no result. Okay? So the site address is, this is in the primary, is, where is the site? Right here. And the site address is right here. So I grab the site address in the primary in those two spaces inside this formula. And then the comparison will be in the other file, which is this one. So I go to the very top and I start right here under site address, and it's anchored $M $2, and I'm going to drag it down to the bottom, which would be to row 813. And so now it's showing that I'm comparing it to export file, which is the name of this one, Excel export, M2 to M813. I hit enter, and there is the matched address. Now I want to compare it all the way down the board to see how many of them match the original file. In this case it should be all of them, but that isn't always the case. And sure enough, it's all of them. Okay, so now that we know that the addresses, if this came out blank or this one came out blank, it could be, and I'll just show you why it might come out blank. I'm going to go to 1003 Spruce, and I'm going to change it instead to 1003 Spruce Street. Okay, which instead of ST, it's not abbreviated, it's STREET. Now when I go to the original, it shows it as blank, even though they are the same. And so anything that's an ST, an AVE, an AVE, a DR, these are all abbreviations. So we kind of have to have a lookup that says, if it says street, it's ST. If it's avenue, it's AV. If it's southwest, it's SW. If it's drive, it's DR. If it's southeast, it's SE. If it's northwest, it's NW. If it's northeast, it's NE. If it's boulevard, it's BLVD. If it's way, it's way. Okay, that's right. If it's place, it's PL. So I need something, a table that looks up and changes anything that is abbreviated so that it matches. And that would make sure that everything is showing up. So this one here, if I go back in here and I change it back to street, right here, it's actually ST, not street. It now shows up. Okay, so we know that all the addresses are present in the primary that are in the imported file, the secondary file. So now I want to see if the name in this file, which in this case is Heart, I'm going to compare this, which instead of site address, now it's going to be that last name, owner last. And I'll do the same thing here, owner last, and then this now becomes now this becomes, in this file, assessee last. So I'm going to go to assessee last. This is the secondary file. I'm comparing the assessee last name against the assessee first name, last name in the other file. So I go down to here and oops, wait, something's missing here. Go back over here. I'm trying to get this, which I was using for my comparison when I was checking the address. Now I'm comparing last names. So I want to go to this file and compare. Where is it? I don't know why it does this, but it is not allowing me to go to this other Excel file, and sometimes it does that, and I don't understand why. This is the one I want to compare it to. Okay, here it is. All right. So I'm going to compare the last name from the original file to the assessee last name in the secondary file. So I start in the same spot and I take it down to the bottom, and I'm trying to see, are these the same people that own this property? And hit enter, and then I drag that down, and we'll find out how many match up. So these are matches. These are people who it says still own the original property. Now, this one here, this is the primary, says that the owner last name is Hart. If I go to the secondary file and I look at the first one, there's nothing in the first, there's nothing in the I see nothing to tell me that is the same person. Yet here, male name, it is the same person. That is irritating. Oh, because it's under a revocable living trust. Okay, so what I need to do is I'm going to split this using a comma as the separator into two columns so that I can pull the last name. So I'm going to say text to columns using comma, say next, and say finish. Okay, so now the Hart last name, I'm going to compare it to that. So I go back in here. So what I did is I separated out, in this particular file, I separated out the male name, which is what I'm going to use as my indicator, because it wasn't working to check the assessee since some of them didn't have assessees listed, which is why I got a blank. So I'm going to take it now and I'm going to compare it to that column that I just created right here and see if it comes back with matches. Okay, enter, and it's still showing that there's missing data. Like this one here is saying that at 1001 Spruce there's a person with the last name Fior, and if I go to the other file under the same one, let's see, Spruce, (1001 Spruce), the male name is Koussis, Sefet Koussis. The let's see if the assessee last name is Fior. That's what we're trying to find out, if that's the owner's last name. And really it needs to be compared in any field where there's a last name. So if it isn't this, is it this? If it isn't this, is it? See right here, it's spelled differently. It's Amina, F-I-O-R-E, and here it's Amina, F-L-O-R-E. It's the same person. So actually, I may have to manually go in and check these to make sure that... Oh wait. Here, let me check here. Sorry. So this is saying that it's missing, and yet it does show in this one for 1001 Spruce Street. This is the secondary. That there is someone named M.F. Floor, Amina Floor, which is the same person as Amina Fior. So, man, is there a way to check if the... So here's the question. In this case, is there a way to set up a formula that says, that checks to see if this last name matches the last name on the current assessee name? And if the answer is no, does it match up with the assessee last name for the second person, which says Floor when it should be Fior? If the answer is no again, then I want to check for the first name, Amina, on the assessee first name, which is Safet, and if it's no, then check the last name, and if it does match, I would consider that a match. So in this case, it's looking 4 places. It's looking first at the last name of the assessee, last name 1, assessee 1 last name. Then it's looking at the assessee 2 last name, still no match. It looks at assessee first name, no match, and looks at assessee first name 2, assessee 2's first name, and it matches. that would indicate to me that it's the same people living in the house. And that would get away from the bad spelling. But I don't know if you can do that. So this one's showing as if it isn't, when in actuality it is. So I'm going to go back in here and fix this, because it really is the right person. Sorry. This is, and it's funny because these are both coming off of the same record source. So it's F-I-O-R-E. I'm not sure which one is correct. I'm going to figure that this one, which is from the county record, F-L-O-R-E, is correct. So I'm going to change this. They just thought an I was an L was an I. Floor. Alright, so this one is actually in the database. It just doesn't show it. This one here, again, we're looking at, this is the primary file, and we're looking at the owner's last name, which is Bells, and this is under which property address? 1003 Spruce Street. So I'm going to go in here, this is the secondary file, to 1003 Spruce Street, which is this column, or this row here, and it's Bells right there. So it should be showing under, should be showing that it is correct, because the owner last name, which is B-E-L-Z, is the owner last name here for the male name. So let me just double check to see that my formula is doing that. It says that it's checking cell A, B, it's column A, B. It's F. So let's change this.